Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today is the final video of the season, my Game Week 38 team selection. Of course, there will be a deadline stream on Sunday for Game Week 38, at least 4 hours long, so do tune into that. But if you have enjoyed the content here on this channel this season for one final time, please do remember to like, comment and subscribe. But without further ado, let's jump into it. So before we look at my team for Game Week 38, and it is a little bit emotional because it's the final game week of the season, let's quickly review Game Week 37. And it was 69 points all out for me and a small red arrow down to 9.2k. And I'll be honest, I'm not too disheartened with that, considering halfway through the game week, I was down at 14k. I did claw it back a little bit. And my aim for the end of the season is to finish in the top 10k, and I'm currently there. I'm currently 2 points inside the top 10k, which means in Game Week 38, I can afford to lose 1 or 2 points on those around me and still hopefully finish in the top 10k. So basically, I've just got to avoid a red arrow, and I'm happy with my rank to end the season. But for Game Week 37, it was a bit of a mixed bag for me. We'll talk about Edison in the next section. He's just been dropped completely by the looks of it. And to be honest, Ortega is just a better goalkeeper. So I don't know what will happen in 38. We'll discuss that. But for 37, he didn't feature at all. So I got Reyes 4-pointer off the bench. The defense was a bit of a mixed bag. Trent 1-pointer was disappointing, especially when Trippier and Botman both got 9 and 8 points, getting bonus points and a clean sheet. But to be honest, I was always playing Trent. His attacking numbers are so good at the moment. I was never going to not play him. And I was not going to play Trippier and Botman ahead of any of my other attackers and defenders. So to be honest, I'm happy with my choices. It does hurt to have all those points on the bench though. But Luke Shaw got 10 points. He was absolutely brilliant for the entirety of Game Week 37. Unfortunately, he came off at half-time in the Chelsea game, which meant he didn't get the second clean sheet. Again, we'll discuss Luke Shaw's potential injury in the next section, but 10 points is still really good. Estepinian a little bit disappointing. McAllister a little bit disappointing as well. Again, getting dropped once again, so we have to discuss that in the next section. Is McAllister a rotation risk for Game Week 38? The rest of the midfield, a bit of a mixed bag. Fernandes and Rashford getting returns in the second game was really, really nice. That boosted me back into the top 10k. And then Mahrez getting absolutely nothing, but starting both. So it was annoying because I called Mahrez correct. I thought he would start both games in 37. He did. He got really good minutes. He just was really disappointed and didn't get any attacking returns. Salah got a single assist with 5 points. So not brilliant from the midfield, but definitely not too disappointing. And Cisso's goal, what a man, because I was going back and forth between do I bring in Alvarez, do I bring in Ferguson? Both of them returned immediately in Game Week 37. Obviously, Ferguson getting the brace. I was waiting. Please, Ciso, please do something. The goal was absolutely brilliant. He did come off again quite early in both games. He might be a potential issue for Game Week 38 too, but at least he got me something, and it was enough, like I said, to push me back into the top 10k. He was my biggest differential, so to get 8 points from him was massive. Erling Haaland was super disappointing. I do regret not captaining Bruno, but it was another situation where, yes, I kind of considered Bruno, but I was realistically never captaining anyone other than Erling Haaland. So Game Week 37 was okay. Like I said, small red considering the rank that I'm at. I'm not too disappointed with. I'm at the rank that I would like to finish the season with. It's just whether I can stay in the final game week inside the top 10k. So let's take a look at the team that will hopefully allow me to do that. Before we jump into looking at my Game Week 38 team selection, I just want to give a massive shout out to Manscaped as they have sponsored today's video. Now, this is a special one because as FPL managers, I feel like maybe our Riz is lacking slightly and we could do with some help with the ladies. And if you feel like that is you, hopefully Manscaped can give you the confidence boost that you need. So I recently received their Performance 4.0 package, and let me tell you, it is a complete game changer. The best of the bunch, if I just hold it up here, is their Lawnmower 4.0. Yes, that's right, the Lawnmower 4.0. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a cutting-edge ceramic blade, and it also has a 4K LED spotlight. If I just turn it on, you can see it there, which allows you to essentially be as precise as Kevin De Bruyne with the through balls. And yes, that was a testicle-related pun. So because this trimmer is waterproof, it does mean that you can trim in the shower, which means no more cocking one leg over the sink, which of course I would not do anyway. So in the Performance Package 4, you also get the Weed Whacker 2.0, which along with the lawnmower is fully rechargeable and cordless with up to 90 minutes of use. Also in the package is the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant for all-day body odor protection and the Crop Reviver Ball Toner Spray, which has cooling aloe vera to refresh your special private areas. Remarkably though, Manscaped aren't stopping there. They also have 2 free additional gifts in this package, which comes with the anti-chafing boxers and a shed travel bag, which you can put all of your products in so that you can keep them tidy and travel in comfort and style. So if you go to manscaped.com and type in the code FPL Raptor or use the link in the description or the pinned comment, you can get 20% off plus free international shipping. And in addition, you get the 2 free gifts as well. It's an absolutely brilliant offer. Don't miss out on it. I do genuinely enjoy the products that I've been sent, so definitely check them out. Massive shout out to Manscaped for sponsoring today's video, but let's now jump into the Game Week 38 team selection. So going into Game Week 38, I have 1 free transfer and 1.9 million in the bank. And I'll be entirely honest, I would say as many as 8 or 9 issues in my team. And realistically, 4 or 5 probably quite big issues. I've only got the 1 free transfer though, and I'm not eager to take a massive hit. I might end up taking a -4 if we get some early team news, but that really will be dependent on early team news. I've got an okay bench. You never know what might happen. Yes, we might predict some rotation, but it may not end up going that way. So I'm only going to take a hit if we get early team news. And even then, I may be tempted to still try and reduce the amount of hits that I take, because it's probably not worth taking a -12 or -16 in a single week when we don't know if those players that we bring in will immediately pay it back. And even if our players are benched, they can obviously come off the bench in real life and still get points. So I do think I have a lot of issues in my team, as do a lot of people going into Game Week 38, but I'm still eager to try and reduce the amount of hits that I take and hopefully just use the 1 free transfer. So I'm recording this directly after the Manchester United-Chelsea game, so I don't have all of the news from the press conferences on Friday, but so you'll have to bear that in mind whenever you are watching this. We'll start with the goalkeeper situation. As I said, at the moment, Ederson has been dropped for Ortega. If Ederson is likely to play the finals coming up, which there is a good chance that he is, then I guess Pep might want to put Ederson back in goal to try and get some rhythm. However, if Ederson isn't going to start and he's going to continue to play Ortega, then maybe Ederson doesn't play in Game Week 38. I've got no real idea who's going to start for Man City in Game Week 38, but I feel like a goalkeeper transfer is probably not the best use of your transfer in 38. Even if I bring in a goalkeeper that gets a clean sheet, we're talking about probably between kind of 6 and 10 points, let's say. Ederson and or Raya, let's say I play Ederson and he plays, or I have Raya instead, they're going to get a minimum of about 2 points. So I'm only probably going to gain 4, 5, 6 points by bringing in a goalkeeper for another goalkeeper. So for me, it's just not a good use of my free transfer. I'm definitely not going to take a hit. So what I will be doing is probably starting Ederson. And if we get early team news that he's out, I'll just play Raya, or he's not starting, I'll play Raya. And even if we don't get news, I'll probably just leave it as it is. And if Ederson doesn't play, then I'll get Raya off the bench. I know it's not a good fixture for Raya, but we've seen previously with him, he makes so many saves, he's good for bonus points. You never know what he might get in a single week. So the plan at the moment is to not use a transfer on the goalkeepers, just because I don't see the upside in it. I can't see a goalkeeper getting like a 15, 20 pointer. It just doesn't happen. Whereas with the attackers, that's always a possibility. So at the moment, no plan to touch the goalkeepers. The defense is a bit of a mixed bag. So we'll start with Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw came off at half-time in the Manchester United-Chelsea game, and the latest news is that it was a slight back injury, was the quote from Ten Hag, and all he said on it was that we'll see over the next 24 hours how the injuries progress for Anthony and Luke Shaw. Anthony's looked a lot more serious than Luke Shaw. I don't know at this stage whether he'll be out. If he is out, I've of course got Estepinian and Botman on the bench, but I also have other issues piling up. My issue with defenders is a defender in comparison to a goalkeeper can get a 15-pointer quite easily. A goal and a clean sheet and bonus points, 15 points. But it's very difficult to try and predict when a defender will get a goal. So I feel like it's kind of a similar situation with Ederson that, yes, I could replace Luke Shaw this week, but I don't know what defender I could bring in that I'm confident will get a clean sheet, goal, and bonus points, which is really what you want to get a mega score from them. So at the moment, if Luke Shaw is confirmed to be out for 38, I would probably just play Estepinian, and I don't really have a massive issue with that. So whilst Luke Shaw is a potential issue, I don't see myself using a transfer on him at the moment, at least. I've got Trippier at the moment starting ahead of Estepinian, just because Newcastle are a slightly better defence. Chelsea just can't seem to score goals, and Trippier is better for bonus points and better for attacking threat too. So at the moment, I've got Trippier ahead of Estepinian, but I may well end up playing both of them. I could even end up relying on Botman, depending on rotation, and I wouldn't really mind having double Newcastle defence against Chelsea. So at the moment, I am happy with all of my defenders. I'm not entirely sure which ones I'll end up playing. It depends on early team news and different pieces of rotation. And then the fifth and final defender is Trent. I feel like Trent is an excellent option for this week. If you don't own Trent, he is arguably, for me, the only defender in the game that is worth buying for 38. And again, the reason that I say that is to buy a defender for a single week when you're trying to get that final big haul from a player. You want them to have attacking threat and a decent chance for a clean sheet. And the only player with really elite attacking threat at the moment that also has a really good chance for a clean sheet for me is Trent. So if you don't currently own him, let me know down below, are you planning to buy him? He's probably the only defender that I would use a transfer on this week. I'm delighted to have him. If we're talking about differential captains, I do think there are potentially some better ones, like Salah will still be a differential captain. But if you're looking for a super differential, I don't mind Trent. His attacking threat, like I said, has been so good. You've got to think that Liverpool have a good chance for a clean sheet against Southampton too. I like the look of him. The only thing that's worth noting is they don't really have anything to play for now, Liverpool. Is there going to be some rotation? I still think Trent will start, but if the rest of the team is quite heavily rotated, we don't know how many goals they'll potentially get. So that's the defence. I'm fairly happy with it. I can't see myself making any transfers. It will just depend on the news around Luke Shaw and whether I end up getting Estepinian in the starting 11. So moving on to the midfield, and I would argue this is where I have the most issues in my team. I'll start with Mohamed Salah because he is not an issue at all. I'm genuinely tempted to captain Salah, and you guys know that most weeks I'll be honest and just say I'm going to captain Haaland. This is a week where, just because of rotation, also just due to the fact that I feel like City is so focused now on the two finals that they've got coming up, I feel like there's a good chance that Haaland's either rotated a little bit, whether that be start and get 50-60 or start on the bench, or potentially that City just aren't quite focused on this game against Brentford and they're instead looking ahead. The thing that I would say is Pep is very big on rhythm, and this is the final game before their two finals. It could be that Pep goes absolutely full strength and tries to get them to play the best football possible to get them back into a rhythm, because he's been rotating a lot recently. They've obviously had the hangover, the literal hangover from winning the Premier League. I do wonder if Pep might go super strong in this, play all of his best players, and actually Haaland is still the best captaincy option. But I am still tempted by a Salah. I would say at the moment I'm about 65-35. Obviously, if we get early team news that Haaland isn't starting, without a shadow of a doubt, the armband is it's probably going on Salah. There are some other options, but I just think Salah is such a good option this week against Southampton. So he's not an issue. I also don't think the two Manchester United boys are an issue in Rashford and Fernandes. So I'm a Manchester United fan myself. I don't think Ten Hag is going to rotate too heavily for 38. What I do think is a possibility is that if we go 1, 2, 3 goals up, I do think Rashford and Fernandes will be the first two players to come off the pitch because they're so important for us. But I don't think he will rotate from the start because we still could get either third or fourth. He did speak in the post-game about a rhythm and about trying to go for the Manchester United home game record in the Premier League. He mentioned a lot of things which made me think that he's not seeing this as just a dead rubber game, and in fact, he is going to go pretty full strength. So I'm fairly confident that both Rashford and Fernandes will start. It's just how many minutes they get if Manchester United go a couple goals up. I feel like if Manchester United are struggling, or Fulham play fairly well, let's say it's like 2-2 with 70 minutes gone, I don't think Rashford or Fernandes come off, and I think they'll stay on the pitch. So I don't think that Rashford or Bruno are issues. I do think that if you're looking for a differential captain, I do like Bruno Fernandes. I know he's been a bit of a points dodger recently, but he's getting so close. He keeps nipping the post and getting shots saved, and he'll pull the ball back to someone from 2 yards out and they'll somehow miss. And I know he's been doing that for a long time now, but when it clicks for Fernandes, he has a very high ceiling along with the likes of Salah. So I feel like Bruno and Salah for me are two really nice differential captaincy options. As a United fan, I can't see Rashford and Bruno being benched. My issues in midfield are with Mahrez and McAllister. McAllister has been rotated a couple of times recently. I think it's because they know for a fact that he's almost definitely going to leave Brighton in the summer. Why would you play a player that isn't going to stay? Why wouldn't you just give some other players an opportunity? So I do worry that, yes, I know he's only just been rotated, but he might end up missing this game out, maybe coming off the bench to just get a little bit of a standing ovation with the fans, and then that be that. So I'm not confident that McAllister starts at all. And as a result, I'm looking at that spot and thinking there's the likes of Eze, Ben Rama. There's some really nice punts that you could take in that midfield spot. Do I potentially move away from McAllister? Obviously, it would be really nice to get early team news on him, but if we don't, I don't know if I feel confident enough with him. So potentially at the moment, if we get no early team news, that's the spot that I'm most worried about. The thing that I would say is McAllister has played in a couple of recent games back in that number 10 role. He isn't still on penalties, and I could see this being a fairly high-scoring game against Aston Villa. So I'm a little bit unsure about McAllister at the moment. Let me know down below if you think he'll start. Hopefully we get some early team news. And it's a bit of a similar situation with Mahrez. That I feel like if Mahrez starts, I still think he's an okay option. But if we go based on what I just said, that actually Man City might go into their full-strength team to try and build up minutes and build up rhythm in those that are likely to start the finals, I don't think Mahrez is likely to start both or either. I think it'll actually be Bernardo Silva on the right and then Gundogan in the midfield spot, in which case maybe Mahrez doesn't start this game, and he has started quite a few games recently. if I had to predict now, I would say it's actually Mahrez starts on the bench in game week 38. So I'm looking at both of those spots as potential issues. Who's the bigger issue for me at the moment? It's probably Mahrez, just because McAllister, when he plays, is on penalties, and it's only a bit of a hunch that he might potentially be rotated because he might be off in the summer. Whereas with Mahrez, I feel like there's a lot more good reason to think that actually he will be on the bench. So let me know down below what you think who you think is the bigger issue at the moment. To be perfectly honest, I'll make that decision on the deadline stream based on any early team news we get. If we get early team news that both are benched, then I'll have to consider, do I take a -4? Do I maybe play Botman off the bench? Or do I just start both of them or one of them and hope that they can get some points off the bench? So that's what I need to consider at the moment. But I think both Mahrez and McAllister could be potential issues. Let's take a look at the two forwards and then discuss the team in its entirety. So moving on to the two forwards, at the moment, Haaland has got the armband. If we get no team news for Man City, which I think is unlikely because so many sources are around now, I'll give Haaland the armband. If we get team news that Haaland starts, I'll give him the armband. The only way that I would switch it off of him is if we get news that he's not starting. Then we all have two options, really. We just switch the armband to someone like a Salah, start Haaland and hope he either doesn't feature at all or he comes off the bench and gets a return. Or we have the option to switch Haaland to Kane and then potentially even captain Kane. And when I look at the fixtures in game week 38 that I think could have a lot of goals, Spurs versus Leeds is a game that I do think could have, along with maybe Crystal Palace versus Forest. I would love to know down below, have a look at the fixtures for game week 38. Which is the one that you highlight as potentially being like a 5-4 thriller? Because we always get one, like without a shadow, there will be a fixture in game week 38 that has kind of 7, 8, 9 goals. It's always the way. It usually actually involves Leicester or Spurs. And often Spurs, Leicester play each other in game week 38. But I could see any of those, Spurs versus Leeds, maybe even Leicester West Ham or Crystal Palace Forest, having quite a few goals in it. And I do like the idea of a captaincy on Harry Kane. Realistically, if Haaland doesn't start, my likely transfer at the moment would be Haaland to Kane, or potentially Haaland to Alvarez, and I would still then probably captain Salah. But I would probably transfer Haaland out because it's the final game week, and if he's not starting, yes, he can do damage off the bench, but I like the idea of an Alvarez or a Kane to bring in for Haaland and to potentially get some decent points. So that's what I'm thinking around Haaland at the moment. My 11th player is Enciso. We'll have to wait and see if Enciso is fit for game week 38. Again, we could get team news around whether he starts or not. If he starts or if we get no news and it looks like he's going to play, I'll probably just keep Enciso. If I want to transfer him out, I have up to 6.5 million, and there are currently 3 options that I'm considering. Solanke is the kind of boring option, but with a decent fixture. He's still got okay data. We know he's going to start. We know he's on penalties. I like him as an option. I've got Taiwo Awoniyi as a potential option as well. Again, I think that Crystal Palace Forest game will have a lot of goals. His data has been really, really strong, and it looks like he's going to start once again. And then I quite like Danny Ings as an option, assuming that maybe Antonio isn't fully fit, or that we think that Danny Ings will definitely start. His data's okay. Leicester are going to have to go for that game. They need to win it. So I feel like West Ham could catch them on the counter. And if Leicester are as shaky at the back as they've been recently, I like that as a fixture for West Ham. So I could go for any of those 3 options. None of them are particularly inspiring. And when I look at my team, I like the idea of a midfield punt more. So let's say that Haaland starts, or we don't get any news, and I don't want to do a Haaland to Kane or a Haaland to Alvarez. Let's say that we don't get any news around Enciso, and I don't want to do Enciso to one of Solanke, Ings, or Taiwo Awoniyi. The other options that I have is selling one of Mahrez or McAllister. And the midfielders that I like at the moment are another Man City midfielder. So if we get news that Foden or Grealish or Gundogan start, I could go there, or even Bernardo Silva. I could do Mahrez to another City midfielder. The other options I've got, maybe Gakpo. I like the idea of bringing in a third Liverpool asset against Southampton. I know Liverpool don't have anything to play for, but I still expect there to be goals in that game. And then the one that I really like, and I know a lot of people are eyeing this up, is Eze. His data's really good. I think there will be a lot of goals in that Forest Palace game. And I'm looking at Eze as a really, really nice punt, a goal scorer as well. He's not got much assist threat, but he's got really decent goal threat. I'm looking at him as a potential option for 38 too. So at the moment, the most likely transfers are either Haaland to one of Kane or Alvarez, Enciso to, it would probably be boring, someone like a Awoniyi or Danny Ings or Solanke, and then McAllister or Mahrez to either Foden, Grealish, Gundogan, a Gakpo, or an Eze. These are all the things that I'm thinking about. I know there are tons of options that I've just given you, but it really does depend on if we get any early team news. If we don't, I'll just have to take the punt that I fancy the most, which will probably be something like a McAllister or Mahrez to an Eze. That would probably be what I would do if we get absolutely no early team news. I think the rest of the team is fine. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's enough to keep me inside the top 10k. I would love to know for one final time If this was your team, what would you do with it? Who would you potentially transfer in? And let me know what some of your dilemmas are down below. So guys, there you have it. That is my Game Week 38 team selection. Thank you for joining me on this journey this season. This is the final video of the season. There will be the deadline stream on Sunday. But I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, a massive thank you. I did not expect this season to go so well, both in FPL, but also this YouTube channel. And I promise you it's all down to you. If you weren't sitting there watching me right now, I would not be making videos and it would not be as successful as it has been. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so, so much. Hopefully you join me next season for even more content. I've got some really good ideas lined up for pre-season and during season as well. But I just wanted to say a genuine thank you from the bottom of my heart, and make sure to tune into that final deadline stream because it's going to be absolute madness. I'll be wearing a suit and a tie. I'll be very professional. It will be at least 4 hours long, and we're going to celebrate the season and hopefully get a green arrow in Game Week 38. But thank you very much for watching. Until next time, cheers. Bye-bye.